to In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. And welcome back to our show. We've got a little bit of a different show today.
Yeah, we've got an update. We've done a few. This is episode 11.
Yeah.
So we don't have a guest on this show, but we promised at the beginning of this episode, or episode 1, that we'd still update and tell more about our stories. And I think now it's time to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about you, maybe a little bit about me, but mostly about you. And just see where things go as we've progressed this far.
Sounds good to me. So you're asking the questions? Shoot away.
Sure. So we'll just, obviously when we started this out, the whole point of the show, we want to encourage people.
Sure.
And in doing that, it's really talking about getting knocked down. We've got the whole boxing theme, your boxing history. And so now is probably a good time to update people that don't know that that's how Termite started. He was a professional boxer. 70s and 80s? Where did your career span from?
Actually, I started in 1966 as an amateur, and it went through I don't even remember the final date. But I started out as an amateur, and went through some ups and downs as an amateur. I told you right off the bat, I experienced getting knocked down, having to get up, in the fact that I lost the first several times I put gloves on, I got my tail kicked. And as I said before, when you're a 10-year-old kid or you're a 30-year-old man, when you're getting your tail kicked, that's a long 1 minute round.
Yeah, 1 minute feels like an hour.
Yeah, that's it. But that through those times that I lost and was defeated, I was able to grow. Matter of fact, turning that into a comment for our viewers, there wouldn't have been any growth without me.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they want to get better, but they want to do it without discomfort or without pain.
Right.
You said it's not possible.
Well, the old saying, no pain, no gain.
Right.
There's some truth to that. And, of course, in boxing, it's definitely true.
Right.
But I look back, and I gained more from the times that I got hit. I learned how to move my head. From when somebody was able to push me around, I learned how to box and move. I learned more good things from my losses, and I also got the desire to overcome due to my losses early in my career. And so what it did is it made me train harder. It made me work harder. I got a great coach. I've told you about my great coach was Kenny Weldon,
Yep.
and he was second to none. He just absolutely fantastic. But, work harder, good coach. I was a good student, and I listened. And so through all those times that I lost, I really gained. I really won from it.
And they were necessary.
They were definitely necessary.
And the kind of comment, we've had comments from, different listeners. Some of our female listeners are not as particular interested in boxing, but the parallels of boxing. So
right.
I still think it's the most evident, obvious, kind of illustration of getting knocked down in life. And so I still want to let people know, if you're not interested in boxing, fine, but listen to this man's stories, and they relate to whatever you're going through. It might not be boxing, but literally getting knocked down, you can't get any more, effective than that, as opposed to, metaphorically getting knocked down on whatever you've got going on. So
Yes,
what
sir.
was you said when you first started, it was, how many losses did you go before you even felt any sort of victory?
Well, I'm going to go back into my sparring days,
Okay.
the first time I put gloves on. The first day that I put gloves on, in one day I sparred 3 different people.
Okay.
Well, actually, it was 2 twin brothers and a man's son. All of them whipped me. And one of them saw one of our episodes. But first, take a moment and share, subscribe, leave us a comment. We want to see what you think. Leave us a comment, share, subscribe.
And if there's anything in particular in the episode that you liked that actually spoke to you, let us know. Put it in the comments.
And he reminded me it was him that whipped me. And so, sometimes the pain doesn't ever go away.
It's still there.
So I lost the first 3 times I put gloves on, I got my tail kicked. But then I won one. And I'll never forget, victory is so sweet. And it's so important that we help our employees, our kids, be victorious.
Right.
Because it's the losses or the times we get whipped is where we learn, but the victory is where we come back and get better, and where we get that desire. So I lost 3, won 1. Man, I was on cloud 9, and I lost my first fight 3 times sparring. Second fight I won. Third fight I come back and fought the guy that beat me the first time. And he beat me again.
Wow.
All right. But at that time, my dad got me a new trainer, Kenny Weldon. We've talked about him, one of the all-time greats. And I became a good student. I listened.
Right.
And I wanted to learn.
You had the desire.
I had the desire.
That's necessary.
You have to have the desire. Can you imagine getting in the ring if you don't want to be there?
Well, I think that applies to some people's situation.
Yeah,
Someone else is pushing them, and they don't truly want it inside.
That's right. That's right. But with a good coach and me being a good student, I went 65 fights without losing.
Wow.
And we were just looking at this yesterday. I had 10 losses, 128 wins. 5 of my losses, 4 or 5 of them were overseas. Romania, Italy, Germany. Okay, and then to the Germans here in New Jersey. So 4 of my losses were all overseas, which are hard to win.
Why is that?
Because you're in their backyard. They've got their judges. None of our judges were there.
Different culture.
In the European style. They would tap. And if they touched you, that was considered a point.
All right. So you knew, not being familiar with these, you're already at a disadvantage.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. But it's part of when you're an Olympian, which there was 5 Olympic teams. I was one of them. Brag again. Sugar Ray Leonard was my roommate that year, and I loved it. It was great. By the way, I learned from him. We can learn from the people that we're working with.
Sure.
We can learn a lot from them. But I won the one, lost the next one that come right back after it. So that was 3 times in the gym. I lost. First fight I lost. Third fight I lost. Got a good coach. I become a good student. Mm-hmm. I listened. And I went to 65. And when it was all, we were looking at this yesterday, when it was all said and done, out of 138 fights, I really only lost 5 of them here in the U.S.
Wow.
And so I would contribute those losses to making me better.
And I want to go back to something that you said. You said victory is sweet.
Yeah.
And we all know that. That's not a surprise. However, I think our culture, a lot of us have seen, you'll hear a lot of the older generation talk about this with the younger kids, that we've kind of raised them up with everybody wins.
Yeah.
And I understand the mentality. It's going back to victory is sweet. So we want the kids to feel that victory, thinking we're going to build them up. Yeah. But I think you cut it short by not actually letting them earn that victory.
That's right.
Because, victory is sweet, but if they didn't really go through the pain, like you said, of getting knocked down and the actual what it took to earn that victory, and you're kind of just handed the victory, you feel good, but you truly did not get better. Yeah. To the point where they couldn't go for 65 and win.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important. Yes, victory is sweet, but you got to go through that pain. You got to push through it.
Mr. S., you're so right on that, because that pain, again, is where they learn.
Right.
I was guilty that I went through a stage that I wanted everybody to get a trophy, everybody, when I coached baseball and stuff. But that's not real life.
But I understand the reason behind it. So if you're a kind of person that does that, we've all, we want our kids to feel good.
Yeah.
We all kind of want to do that, especially for kids. And it's hard to step back and say, am I truly helping this child? or am I just making them feel good for a moment and not really equipping them for life?
Yes.
Because the real life, we love them, whoever they are. Later on in life, they're going to be dealing with people that do not love them.
That's right.
And now we've not equipped them to deal with that. So I think it's just a reminder for all of us.
I think you're right. So, taking a little bit further in my amateur career, I came back from overseas, fought here. You know, I'd won the Golden Gloves 3 times, 4 times, whatever it was. But at 16...
You're the youngest Golden Glove winner, right?
Well, national champion.
National, okay.
Not local. Local, it was... when I won the national Golden Gloves, I won it at 16. It had not been done at that time. It's been done
on a national
now.
level. Gotcha.
It's been, but I was the first, and I get to
hold claim that.
That's it. So, Mr. S, I actually had somebody call me yesterday. It was pretty cool because we wanted to get to a point where we had sponsors.
Sure.
I had somebody call me and said, I want to be a sponsor. So I think it'd be a good time that we're growing, that maybe we should tell them how they can become a sponsor. So I'm that person out there. I'm asking you, Mr. S, how can I become a sponsor?
It's really simple. Just send us an email. Send it to info@intheringpodcast.com. Our website, www.intheringpodcast.com. Just send us a note, and we'll respond to you on different options so we can help get your business some publicity.
There it is. So I come back from overseas, won all the different tournaments here, and I protested a certain group. I'm not going to talk about them, but I protested because, again, you got to take a stand for what you think in life.
Right.
And I ended up turning pro. And I'm actually looking it up. I said I turned pro at 17. It's actually looking like it was 16. And we on this video that we were watching last night. So 16, 17, I turned pro. And my whole life changed. Then I started having to think like a grown-up. I was professional. I was a kid getting paid good money for boxing.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids it sounds like a dream, but you're kind of thrown into something at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not prepared.
But to take this up and draw a little net in right now, it took work and it took pain in that work. It took discipline. It took time. I mean, I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning when I was 12, 14 years old and going and running.
Oh, wow.
And, we went different places to run, but it was always safe. And so there's so many things that come into being successful. And in sports, in boxing, I got a taste of that.
Sure.
And so fast forwarding, I come back, I turned pro, and had a good pro career. And, the pro career's totally different from amateur. You're getting paid for it. People are trying to hurt you.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's real.
It's real. It's real. We were talking about getting knocked down earlier. And I have been knocked down. And
tell us about one of the more memorable knockdowns.
I got one that comes to mind. This was later on in my career. I walked out to touch gloves, and I reached my hand out, and the guy, boom, and hit me. And I fell for it, and I know better than that. I know
the
how.
The bell had already rang.
Yeah, the bell had already rang, and I was
trying to throw you off.
And I never do that. And this guy hit me, and for the rest of that round, evidently I was fighting and holding my own. I didn't know it because I was out. I was out on my feet. So I come back second round. My dad gave me I was in Orlando, Florida. So he says, son, you're taking too many punches, blah, blah, blah. Sent me back out. And I come back in. He goes, son, what is wrong with you? And I was still dazed. And we didn't know that.
That first hit just threw you off.
Third round comes. I go out, and I barely win it. And I come back, and he goes, what's wrong with you, son? What's wrong with you? You're losing the fight, which I wasn't. He's trying to, get me motivated, or maybe I was. And so I don't recommend this, but in the ring, he goes, pow, and slaps me. And I said, what are you doing? And it woke me up. And then I was so mad, I said, I quit, boxing. And he goes, well, go out there and win the fight first.
Then you can quit.
And so I went out. I fought the guy. I won it was an 8-round fight.
Okay.
A 10-round fight. And I won 8 out of 10 rounds. And after the fight was over, I was embarrassed because I didn't know if I won or lost. I was still dazed.
You're still out of it.
Yeah. And so I walked up to my dad and I said, Dad, how did they score the points? I was trying to figure out if I won. And he goes, what's wrong with you? You stopped him. And I stopped him actually in the 8th. And it was a 10-round fight, but I stopped him in the 8th. Anyway, he goes, son, you won the fight. You stopped him. And, in life, it's really kind of the same way. We get knocked down. We don't know what happened, business-wise.
You just got to keep going.
You got to keep going, and you got to shake it off. And remember, there's another day. Tomorrow we got to get up, put our boots on, and we got to go out and fight the world again.
And sometimes when you pause to assess how you're doing, that's not good. You should just keep on going until you hit the finish line.
That's right.
And sometimes, imagine a runner. If they just look to see who's behind them and say, okay, I'm still good, they're going to slow down. But if you just keep looking forward and run your fastest, you might beat them by a mile.
Yeah.
But you don't know that. And if you stop and, spend your energy on, am I far enough? Or just give it all you got.
Yeah.
And now let's go back to, having this coach, your dad. I think that's really appropriate in our lives. We'll have coaches, different people that recognize, I need to smack some sense in them, or I need to snap them out of whatever they're in. And so your dad saw that. He's like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to wake him up.
Yeah.
And that's uncomfortable too.
Very uncomfortable.
And at that time, you're like, I don't like you. I quit, but you didn't see what he saw.
Yeah. You're so right. And when the fight was over, I remember raising my hands in victory, and I still didn't know where I was. I was dazed.
Where am I?
I remember the feeling, what was going on. But, Mr. S., it was really a good thing because sometimes we need to get slapped back into our consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we need somebody to love us enough to pop us, and say, hey, wake up. What's going on? Sometimes we need that.
We all say, your friends are when they actually tell you some uncomfortable things. If everyone's telling you all nice things, no, I'm not saying be mean, but if everything is just a compliment, I got to be a little suspicious of that because not all of us are doing everything great. We shouldn't always be complimented. But when you got a friend that will kind of set aside and say, hey, you could do better here or this, that's how you know you got a good friend.
Yeah. Well, Mr. S., I've got one of those good friends. I don't have a lot of them good friends. I do have one, and of course you know him, Pastor Johnny. And
I do.
And we, one of the things that we'll have to have him on here because he's come up in this area, seen a lot of change. He was one of the bad kids.
Oh, I've heard some of y'all's stories. You'd definitely be surprised he's a pastor with some of those stories.
Yeah. But, thank God that God takes us all.
Right.
He does. But, I am blessed that he has been there for me when I've lost loved ones. He's buried my mom, my dad, my sister, and we've been around that. But he's also told me sometimes when I was messing up, we tell everybody the good side of things on here.
Sure.
There's a bad side of Termite Watkins.
Of all of us.
I got involved in drugs. I've said a little bit about that. And Johnny Brady loved me enough to tell me like it was. What are you doing, Termite? You're blowing it. And, and he didn't slap me, but he did with words.
Right.
And it hurt me. I was actually mad at him. Hurt because he told me the truth.
Yeah, I thought we were friends.
Yeah,
why are you trying to bring me down? I'm trying to have a good time.
Yeah. But it's good that people do that. That there's some I'm glad there's people in life that are strong enough to do that for people. And I've had a few times, I won't name any names because it might be obvious if somebody knows me out there, but I've had the privilege of slapping somebody back in reality, in life.
In line, in shape, whatever you want to term it.
Yeah, yeah. So, back to the boxing. As an amateur fighter, I learned a lot of things, and it prepared me for my pro career. And I was blessed to have a great pro career. I went around saying that I had 65 fights, had 58 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws, and 48 were knockouts. Well, we're finding out that it was 69 wins, and so I was off, and it was only 42 knockouts, and I just found that out. So I have to come clean with everybody. I didn't have that many knockouts. The way
they did stats.
The old stats did, but when I've been knocked down a couple of times in boxing, and every time is when I drop my guard. But one of the things that I look back on is that I was in condition enough to get up. And, if there's somebody out there, if you've been knocked down on something, get up. I don't care if you have to pull yourself up. Get up and go for it again. And how many times has business people that we've talked to
Sure.
at the last moment made it?
And it almost always is the last moment. It's almost always when they felt like giving up. I don't know why that is, but it almost seems to be that way.
Yeah.
It's like they just pushed a little harder, and that's when it happened.
Yeah. So, Mr. S, we've had some really great stories.
We have.
And I've had a lot of people calling me, telling me more great stories. And but there's such a big audience out there and a wide area. If people wanted to contact us and tell us their story, how would they do it?
We got several ways. One is just email us, info@intheringpodcast.com, or we have a Facebook page. So you can go In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. On our Facebook page, you can send us a message. So contact us through either one of those, and we'd be happy to talk to you about you sharing your story. And hopefully whatever you've gone through, you can inspire others.
That's it. So some of the things, looking back over these last 10 episodes, is we have a lot in common with a lot of people. There's a lot of people been knocked down. I know you've been knocked down.
We all have. I certainly have. We'll share more of those at one of these other times. But yes,
we will.
Certainly have.
Because you've been knocked down, but I've admired that you've always got up, and that's what I admire about the people that we've had on these episodes. They always got up.
Yeah.
We've never interviewed anybody that didn't get up.
I mean, that's why we want to bring these stories, and I think everybody has the capability to get up. When I think of of Sharita on her episode, The Biggest Loser, not being an athlete, and she did some of these things that she's literally falling down and can't get up. That's amazing that you push that. And so all these are analogies to any other thing that you apply in life. You've got to get back up, and it's the pain. I think I want to emphasize that one. Anytime you grow with anything, business, sports, you cannot grow without going through pain. Whether bodybuilding, you got to rip the muscle down to make it stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back, being faster, you've got to put yourself through the pain of making stronger. And I think some people are looking for a shortcut. They want to get to here, and they think they're going to try to find an easy way. And there is no easy way.
There is no easy way.
You have to go through pain. You've got to go through discomfort. Mm-hmm. If it's not pain, let's call it discomfort.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be comfortable.
That's right.
And some people just avoid stress, avoid discomfort, thinking that they're doing themselves a favor.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're not going to achieve whatever dream you have.
Yeah. Mr. S, I want to comment on one other thing. It just hit me.
Sure.
Besides having the pain of getting knocked down in life, as all these episodes have been, I want to encourage the younger people out there to be careful on the choices you've made. I'm not going to go into them right now, but you'll probably trigger something that you know. But I've made some choices that I thought I got by with them. And then later on in life, they
catch up to you.
They catch up with you. And, we don't talk about the Bible a lot, but there's a scripture that says, be sure your sin will find you out. Mm-hmm. Now, so I want to encourage the young people, watch out what you do in life. The decisions that you make are going to come to fruition sometime during your deal. Now, I want to close that with this. Some of the decisions that we make that are not good early in our life, they can actually turn around. God can use them.
Sure.
And turn them into blessings.
Of course.
And that's happened to me.
And I think what you're saying is right. I think nowadays, you talk about generations, we are fortunate in a lot of ways, being older. You talk about Johnny Brady being a pastor now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that he did that were not very pastoral. Yes. Can you imagine now? I think it's harder for kids nowadays because everybody's got a camera. Yeah. So there's more evidence of your bad doings nowadays. So it's like more pressure on these kids because they could do something when they're 10 or 11 that can come back and haunt them because it was posted on the internet. We didn't have that, thank God.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all the more reason for them to be aware that, what you do matters.
Yeah.
Every little thing, probably more so than any other time in history.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weight, but that just means they're going to have to be stronger because of it.
Yeah. Well, and that just makes me want to come back with this comment, is that you're going to get knocked down in life. Everybody does. Yep. Everybody that we've interviewed had got knocked down several times, but they got up. So, when you're out there and you're trying things and when you get knocked down, just get up. Just find a way. Get up.
And I want to add a comment to that. You say everybody gets knocked down. That's not necessarily true because some people don't even get back up after the first time they get knocked down, and they don't try.
Yeah,
and they didn't like the feeling of that first knockdown, so they said, "I'm just not going to try," and that way I'll never get knocked down again. Yeah. I think that's sad. Get back up. Sad. Get back up at the risk of getting knocked down again, and that's just keep on pushing through.
And as they're going to see as we go on with our episodes, is that some people have been knocked down over and over and over and over until they got it right.
Right.
And
as long as you keep getting up, you got the chance to get it right.
But if you don't get up,
you're going to stay there.
You're going to stay there.
Don't have a chance.
Don't have a chance.
So, in closing, in order to not get knocked down, what do we tell our family and friends to do?
You got to keep your guard up.
Keep your guard up.